record on this computer. Hey everybody, this is Devin with well, no, I'm not professional home educator. This is Homeschool House Calls. See, y'all, I'm used to doing workshops in our Facebook group, and this is not our Facebook group. This is going to be on our YouTube channel. And so Homeschool House Calls, and we're with Latasha and Michelle today. And Latasha's not a new homeschool mom. She's had different challenges, and we've known each other a long time, and then Michelle is new. So Michelle is doing public school at home. It's one of our options, you know, in different states. Every state will have a different set of laws, but especially since COVID, we've had distance learning and public school at home, and these have become very mainstream things. These are not abnormal. So, I mean, it just feels new because it's new in the US, but it's not really new. We've had these things before. So we're going to talk about some stuff they've got going on, and I'm going to give you my take on it. I will tell you I am not professional. I'm me. That's all I am, but I've homeschooled 17 years. So I will, you know, I can give, and then we may go do some on-site recording too. So anyway, so y'all sit back and you know, you can find us at any time if you need us, if you're watching this later. Okay, so where can we start? What do we need?
So when you're coming out of the mainstream schooling, I think sometimes it's hard to transition from that to homeschooling. And a lot of us have a tendency to try to replicate what they were doing at school.
Yeah. And it doesn't work because they're not the same environment. Schools are good. I'm not actually anti traditional school. So nobody think that. I grew up in the public school system, but they're set up to manage a classroom. You know, they're taught to manage. And when you come home, suddenly you only have 1 or 2 kids, or like me, you have 5, and it's a different kind of management. So yeah, doing school at home is not something I advise. Sometimes you won't have a huge flexibility with public school at home. It'll depend on which one you use. Each one is they're like an individual company that runs almost like a private school or a charter school, if you can think of it that way. And so they're companies that have contracted with states, is from what I understand. So it's like, let's see, one that's big that I see a lot on TV is Connections. They contract with the state, and then or either with with a school board. In my state, we have 2 or 3 counties that will let children from other places in the state register, and it's like they're a transfer student. And so they've been around a long time. They're not new. So there is some, what's the word for it, flexibility with it, but not as much as traditional homeschooling. So that's one thing you'll look at. How old is she?
Mine 13.
Yeah,
she's a
13. So they may have set classes at set days, so it will be easier than distance learning, but it might not be as flexible. It just kind of depends. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, any mama listening, I don't always know. So some of them you just kind of have to. You'll have a homeroom teacher that you'll communicate with, and so I mean, you'll probably have gotten stuff in. Usually they send you stuff in the mail, but I know if
we're getting to that part. We are, when I say brand new and fresh, like the last 2 weeks, we've completed
2 weeks.
We've been accepted. We are working,
awesome.
You know, towards, you know, putting all of this together and making sure, you know, equipment will work and, you know, proper everything. So when I say fresh, we are really fresh.
Yeah, it's an awesome opportunity.
Latasha's really given me the courage to go at this. And
she's awesome that way.
It's not as intimidating as you think it is. 2 years ago, I was like, oh, no. There's no way I could possibly do that. But you know, it's come a long way, and I can't wait to get over the hump where I'm like, I cannot believe I did it any other way. But you know,
you probably will. You'll probably get there in about a year. You'll say, why was I scared of this? One thing, I mean, you'll be a lot of learning time management, because I know at least the public school at home programs I've seen, they'll have they have their deadlines and all, but you're used to that. So you'll have a lot more freedom than what you've had with
But
public.
I think just doing it, merging out and taking those baby steps is
It's
going to be good
awesome.
for us, because I can start to see what I can effectively change based on what she needs. And do we need that serious level of structure? Do we want to,
Yeah, and some
have
people love it. I have a really
everything?
great friend who uses public school at home, and she loves it. With hers, she communicates a lot with the way theirs run is they do a lot of communicating with the teacher. The teacher gives them stuff to do, and then she'll teach it during the week. So it just kind of depends on the program. Some of them you'll be more involved. 13, she'll probably be, I mean, it'll probably be very similar to my girls. I have a 14-year-old, and she does most of her stuff online. I set up, we meet once a week and we go through everything, or maybe twice a week if she's real busy, and we go through everything she's got to get done. And she's really learned time management skills that I know I didn't have when I was 14. Because I didn't have it, but it's really awesome. But I'll be really interested if maybe we can follow your progress and you can show us what you've learned through the year.
Sure.
She was also saying that her daughter has some special needs herself.
Yeah. She ADHD is a big one for us. And we're learning our way through it, and what she needs individually. And I can clearly say it doesn't match mainstream school at all. And it's a battle. And I don't know how to put that any other way. That
Well,
the battle
yeah,
needs to stop. I'm picking my battles now.
picking your battles. Oh my gosh, that's a great phrase. What about you? What about you, Tasha? What have you been doing?
I'm still trying to work things out with the Satsuma school system at this moment. So I'm homeschooling Nick, and between Nick's special needs, I asked him the other day what he would like to do, and so I could focus on some things in particular, because it seems like it's just so much. But so he wants to learn how to read. He wants to learn how to write his name, which he's already learned how to write he's already learned how to write Nick, his first name. He's practicing Hughes, or he's learning that.
It's doing very good.
He is.
He's doing awesome.
He is.
He's learning he has a communication device that he's learning, and it's kind of like a keyboard on a computer. So he's learning that, and learning those words. And he wants to learn how to eat by mouth. So there's lots of therapy sessions that that we've been going to, and
That's amazing.
a lot of medical stuff at a time. So
yeah. Can you give a short summary of the different special needs that y'all deal with Nick?
Let's see. Nick has spina bifida, and so he has. I'm trying to think. Well, Nick has spina bifida. He has asthma. He has something called the Arnold-Chiari malformation, number 2. He has a trach. He has a feeding tube.
Assistive devices.
Yeah, he has assistive devices to help him with different things. I'm trying to think.
He's a miracle. It's really what he is.
He really
awesome.
is. He is.
Really is.
Gave him less than 1% chance of living. And said if he was living, he would be in a vegetative state, just enough to live. So he would just kind of just be breathing, but not enough to die. So, but the fact that he's learning and retaining things, and has been for a long time, his memory is remarkable.
Oh, he's rocking it. Totally.
It's
That's my friend. He's my friend. We are buds.
He is awesome. And and I have plans.
Challenges, fine motor skill challenges, possibly some eyesight challenges, or but
Sure.
oh yeah, he has 2 shunts. 2 He was born with water on his brain. He has hydrocephalus. And so, yeah, he's got that, which is a big deal. So the fact that he's learning anything is
He's a miracle, and he's just a miracle. How much game schooling do you do? Do you work in a lot of games when you're teaching him?
not a ton right now. I mean, ABC Mouse, but and he does like the games on ABC Mouse as far as like if it's asking him about letters, pick the right letter on the fence or something like that. So he does like the games.
He saves up thousands of tickets.
Yeah, he does not use his tickets.
No, I've never seen.
He's saving them up. Oh my
Thousands.
gosh. My girl, my Cole, when Cole started, he was 19. I mean, he's 19 now, so there wasn't a lot of games out there when he started. We started homeschooling him, but my girls would like go through those tickets and spend those tickets right away. They would never save anything.
The only tickets that he has that have been spent were from his sisters getting on there and
Robbing him blind.
and well,
But he's there to learn, and he is not there to play.
But if there's, I'm interested in
He's
more.
good at saving.
Yeah, he
More
is good at
game.
saving.
I'm just
More
wondering
games
how
outside
I've seen
that program.
such progress with some people with their special needs with game schooling, because it doesn't feel like it's school.
Okay.
I'm wondering if that would help to add in some games. Let's see. Trying to I'm bad with games. I have some groups I'll send you some links to. I don't know if I've added you before, but I would try working in some games. Definitely that for anything he's learning, so that he's having the same information but in multiple different ways.
Yes, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm like, when you're teaching children, you're usually wanting to have two or three different. You're wanting the information given to them two or three different ways,
Okay.
because it helps. It helps all of us.
Yeah, it does help all of us.
All of us. I actually pull out my big kids. I pull out a game called Money Bags every once in a while and make them deal with money. He may not be there, but Michelle may be. I pull out because I took them to a store, and not only was my 12-year-old having trouble knowing what money to hand to the cashier, but the cashier didn't know. He was new. He didn't know what money to hand to her. And I'm sitting there watching them going, but we live in a credit card society.
Right. Yeah,
And most people are not dealing with money like we did on a daily basis. Right. And so it's not, I don't think it's unusual. I'm not dissing anybody. I'm looking at myself. I'm like, not dissing anybody, but so I pulled it out and I bought that. Now periodically I make them play, because I was like, okay, the other guy had to walk over and help him give change. And I'm like, there's ways to go around that. So I would look for any tactile board game type thing to add in for both of y'all. I highly, add in some. You can, when you're doing public school at home, you can add extra in there. You don't have to. I mean, it should be much more streamlined than distance learning. Distance learning was a nightmare, but in the school system's defense, they were not prepared for COVID. I like to tell people all the time that we need homeschoolers on the Board of Educations. It would have, they would have had some people to think outside the box.
Right.
But I know with Michelle, I think we'll do a lot of talking over the next couple of weeks as you're setting up. It'll be easier as you walk through the steps, and I'll walk with you. You should have a great support system from them there, but I think I can probably help you logistically with you'll have a great, they should have a great support system, but they'll help walk you through most of using that, but I can help you with some logistics when you need it, like helping make things work if you have issues going through there.
Right now, we're the device that she has from the school she was attending, which we were at Chickasaw, let's just get that out in the open. But the device that they provided is not going to, even though they told me it would be fine, is not going to meet the needs of that. because
So
you
there's got to
need
be a
a
new one.
Windows operating system with Windows 7 or better. And this has just got a Chrome OS. So we're at the point we got to make sure we have the proper tools.
Yeah,
And of course, the shipments are going to come. But we completed the enrollment, which wasn't bad. It really was
yeah,
not much different. It's really repetitive, but not much different than enrolling a child
enrolling
into a
anywhere.
regular school.
Yeah,
Yeah, it really wasn't much different than that. But yeah, I'll be happy if you'd like to track the
yeah.
progress as we go.
I would like to see, just so, I mean, it helps me learn things, because we are in a different environment now than we were a year ago. Every
Yeah,
parent is in a different environment than we were a year ago. So as
I
the
will.
more I learn, the more I can help people.
I love the app where she's
Hmm.
working on the computer. I'm her mother and her learning coach. And
Yes.
there is an app that I'm walking around with
Awesome.
my phone, and it's letting me know, like, she just got assigned her homeroom teacher, Miss Clark. And I'm like, I knew that before she was going to be told any. In other words, I'm ahead of
That
her.
is awesome.
Instead of, going teacher, student, mom, it's teacher, mom, student, or teacher, coach, student. In other words, and that's what I was very dissatisfied with in the school system, is the amount we're excluded. And
Mhm.
then when she gets into trouble, I have no way
And you didn't know.
to double back and say, and this
And it's easier to
will,
catch the problem ahead of time than in catching the problem later. Yeah.
but that is one thing that I'm in that loop, and I'm in, maybe a lot more the middleman with it, but I'm in there instead of on the tail end trying to clean up the mess on the back end. Instead, I can be proactive,
And
and
you can take care of it ahead of time.
and if I see something that's a bad habit developing, I'm like, okay, like this morning, we're not going to depend on just a calculator to do math. I want to see the work. I want to see
Yes.
like terms combined. And no, she looked at me like I was out of my mind. And I'm like, oh no, it's a new dawn, it's a new day.
It's the, yeah.
And
Said I'm your coach now. And that's really what happens with traditional homeschooling with
fucking
most of my kids. When they get older, it's kind of like you change from being the hands-on teacher to being the facilitator, because they get to the point they can do their work on their own, but you've still got to pay attention so that you can catch anything before anything bad. Like I check my kids' they do their math online. I check their grades every night to see what they did, so that I can catch problems before they get too far down. Because my first one, I was not on top of it, and he got behind. So now I'm always checking to see what it is. So that's pretty normal. It's a normal thing, but it's pretty awesome. I like it. I like how that you get that information before they do.
Would you say that it's common for when, especially for older kids, say middle school, high school, when they switch from main school, uh, mainstream school to homeschooling, like button heads with the parents?
Yes,
I mean,
that is completely normal. And what I usually this is what I'll tell you too. You're here. I'll tell you. Your first goal when you start homeschooling is to make connection, because not again, I'm not dissing any kind of school, but when children are not at home and they're not with you all day long, you lose that connection.
I would agree with
And you
that.
have to reconnect. And so when you have free time, I would go to museums. You're working on connecting your heart, so that then it's easier to tell them that they're wrong or they're doing something wrong when you got that connection. When you don't have that connection, then you're still the outsider. And then that's a horrible thing to say, but that's usually what I tell parents. That's what we call deschooling. In the homeschool circuits,
they were
you'll
but
hear people talk about deschooling, and they'll say, just take a break. And really what they're telling you to do is to reconnect. I'm like, and healing, because a lot of times when people start homeschooling, there has been issues somewhere, and there have been, whether bullying or special needs or or whatever it is, there's been issues, and you've got to heal and you've got to reconnect. And that's really that first year, that's your biggest goal. And I think it's even more important than academics, because if you are reconnecting and you're healing, then you become a healthy, happy adult. and having it, and let's be honest, that is a number one goal for our children.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
I want my children to be able to interact with everyone else and be happy and healthy. And that's way more than important than what degree they get or, how much money they make. If they can't contribute to society and raise their children well, then I haven't done a good job as their mother. So that's me.
Yeah.
So that's usually my first advice is work on connection. I'm like, make sure you're
Yeah.
taking time to connect. My kids, I usually do we call it the mama date. I'll take one kid out, and sometimes it's just grocery shopping, but I try to make some kind of special moment with each one, at least every couple of months. I mean, I have 5, so it's but if I do once a month, I'm like that's only twice a year. But so I try to be very mindful, and I did realize I caught myself. I was doing stuff with my 2 older girls who were teens, and then I have a preteen that I wasn't doing as much with her, and I didn't realize it. And then I realized one day, you know what? She's almost a teen, and I'm not doing the same thing, and I'm not spending as much time with her as I am with the other ones. So I had to correct myself. So that's being a parent. So
Right.
I would make time for making connections.
So make time for making connections. That does not have to do with.
It doesn't have to be academic.
Yeah.
And it can be anything. It can be having that special moment first thing in the morning, having tea. You're making that time special and showing them that they are special and that they are important to you. Because we get busy with life and we forget that sometimes we need to know that we're important. And just, and I think that's one of the things that is one of the biggest benefits of homeschooling, regardless of which kind people do, is that you have that ability to make that connection.
So what about even with homeschooling, going from, mainstream schooling to homeschooling, our kids may finish their schoolwork in a shorter period of time than
Oh, they're
when
definitely going to finish their schoolwork
That was
shorter.
the shocker for me when I realized
Yes.
how much they accomplish in an entire 6-hour day at school. And because I've worked in Mobile County with
Yeah.
kids in school briefly, and we ended up, that's how we met. But I could not believe how small of the instruction, how much time is wasted. But I couldn't believe, how much you actually can get accomplished if you're not tangled up in, I hate to put it like this, but being,
Well, a lot of it is because a public school system has to manage. You're having, if you have 20 to 30 students in a classroom, it's going to take you all day to get everything done. But when you've only got 1 or 2, you can get done in 2 to 3 hours. My teens only do about 4 hours a day. So what I suggest is,
I was amazed by that.
What I do with mine is we don't turn the TV on when school's done, because that kind of cuts into creativity. But we, they do learning apps, they read, they, anything that they want to do creativity wise. I'm like, I have one that's into gardening, I supply that love. I supply stuff to make sure she has what she needs. I have one that likes art. I make sure she has good quality supplies for that. Let's see. I have one that's into Roblox. I do allow that. I just don't, but as long as they can prove to me that they're learning something and it's creative, I'm okay with that. I have one into Minecraft. I'm like, they've done all sorts of stuff. But we don't normally.
That is education. They're actually
there is learning, and if you find my Facebook group, anybody out there that watches later, I have a homeschooling with Minecraft workshop in there. There is lots of learning there. Game schooling is big. Board games, puzzles, books, anything. I'm not real big into mindless TV. Occasionally we will do documentaries and stuff like that. I might, if it's a rainy, cold day, like, like it has been this week for us, I might turn on a documentary and we'll pop
We like
popcorn.
how it's made. How
Yeah,
it's made.
my
Cool.
my kids love that one. And then on YouTube, there's one that's like old medieval England, and it's like made in Europe. And we watch that show a lot of times because it's like interesting stuff. And we'll find stuff and we just do something together. And that's a way to make connection. I'm like, you're finding a document, you're learning something, but at the same time, we're all sitting there with the popcorn. And so that's
What
what we
about,
do.
what about the concern that most parents have from going from, mainstream public school to homeschooling, the concern about socializing?
That's a
Social.
concern.
It is a
Socialization.
concern, and it's a big one, and it's a very valid one. I will say that socialization is not a school thing; it is a life thing, and it starts at birth. You start it with your mama and your daddy and your siblings and aunts and uncles, and then it builds out of that. Pre-COVID, I would say there's no issue. This year is a little bit harder with socialization. There's some virtual stuff you can do. Locally, we do have some groups that I can send y'all. I mean, these
Definitely.
ladies are local. People who watch this later, I know I keep saying that. These ladies are local to me. There are some groups that you can join that have field trips. In our area, we've had proms and we have a graduation ceremony. I mean, anything you can think of, we have. It's just with the way society is right now, it's a little bit harder, but not impossible. Most people, and we're like what 9 months in with COVID, and things are getting better. People are starting to learn how they can social distance. I went to the park this week. We had a park play date with young kids, and it went very well. Moms were kind of situated away from each other, but we're still close enough we can talk and have a good time. So taking in consideration what we need to do to stay healthy, but at the same time things are getting a little easier. You can find stuff to do. Museums will have classes. In our area we have classes at the museum, we have classes at the Explorium.
Michael's.
Main thing is you don't get don't get into the mindset or mind frame that you're going to stay home. Look for something to add in and to go somewhere, because everybody needs to see somebody, even
Right.
mama. And when you work, if you work, it does get harder. That is one thing that I've tried to address locally, that I've had moms who work that need something socially in the evening or on the weekend so that they can get out. And that is something that, because homeschool in the face of it has changed this year, and we have a lot of moms who work now and homeschool or have public school at home or distance learning, and we have to find ways to make accommodating. That's what I like. I think that's one thing I love about the homeschool community. They're good at trying to find ways to accommodate. So yeah.
Have any of the moms that you talked with, I heard something, I think they're calling it pods, like where you get with different groups.
I have, and
Stay
there
with those groups.
I know of two in our area. Well, not exactly a pod, but similar. One in Fairhope, and I don't know a lot locally, but I have seen that nationwide. And that's a very interesting idea of moms getting together, and that's pretty much what homeschoolers will call a co-op. It's parents getting together and teaching each other's kids. So it's really, a pod is about the same as a co-op, but
Okay.
just a new name for it. And I just think we're in an interesting times. Interesting.
Yeah, we had a number of people, let's just exit with us.
Yes.
It was like a number of people just said, that's enough. And we're not going to take the chances and take the risks. And, let's move over into, trying
I
this.
know a group that meets at a park, and the moms can actually leave their kids and they can take turns and they watch what they're doing. I've heard of moms, like one mom dropping kids off, and like one mom who didn't work or work from home, and then she watched the other mom's kids and they were friends. So it worked. I mean,
Right, the little pods, like they just have
Yeah.
certain friends they meet
it's
with.
just friends that they meet with, and you're together, then you take an educated risk. And I think it's a very workable idea. Yes, I'm recording. No, you don't want to be on there. What do you? Okay. She's trying to sign to me, and I don't know what she's saying.
Well, introduce yourself,
Do
ma'am.
you
You
want to
keep coming.
introduce yourself?
Introduce
Say
yourself.
hello. My name is Elisa. She's signing no.
Yes, yes, yes.
She doesn't want me to tell you that she's here, but
We're aware of it.
I love you. Okay, she's 5. She is my happy surprise. That's what I call her. All my other ones are all older, teenager, preteen, and all together like the stair steps. And then I have my happy surprise, and she's like fun. She usually does get on the well, we do lives inside the group, and she'll get she'll get in there, and then she'll pretend to have her own lives, and I'm like, yeah, she's a mess. She is a mess. But yeah, I think they're really interesting. I'm like, especially if you're doing the same distance learning or the same public school at home, and you got this or the same curriculum if you're doing traditional. I think it's very easy to set up pods and work with friends.
Okay.
Got a new movement.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I think the other thing that I like about homeschooling is you can, and I think we talked about this earlier, but you can cater the way you school your child or your children,
You can tailor
on
it
what
to
they
their needs.
and it's and each child may be different. So I think that's also can be challenging though to tailor.
Mine
it.
is a big problem is too slow.
Mhm,
And she doesn't want to get hung up on repeating the
mhm.
same thing. Even being in an advanced class is too slow. She wants to take off and go at the speed she wants to say, hey, well, everyone's got to come along with us. So, I mean, I'll be able to see what the things that we need to work on and not harp on the things that she's like, okay, I got this. Can we go? Can we move on? Because she's willful and
Well, that's
willful.
the thing. You can say, hey, get your schoolwork done, what they want you get done today, get that done, and then we'll learn something else this afternoon. I mean, and you can give her extra projects, or I'm like, or she can learn something else, whether it's knitting or watercolors or gardening or whatever her thing is. I'm gonna say, okay. And there's a company called Outschool that has individual classes. They have everything from, I think, 3 and up. And it's like, I have one girl who loves poetry, and so she takes poetry classes. So one day a week there's a class there, and then some of them will go every day. But that's something you can add in, and that gives her something else where she can go as fast as she wants. And then you can have this over here because public school at home you may not be able to move as fast as she wants to there, because they do have what they want. I don't know. We'll see. I want to walk with you this year, and I'll learn some things too. But it doesn't always have the freedom that traditional homeschooling has, but there are ways you can work around that. And I'm not, it's not saying that it doesn't work. It meets a lot of people's needs. So I'm like, I would add something extra. So, okay, here's your project, work on this for the semester, and she can go just as fast as she wants. And
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I'd be happy if you'd want to follow our progress.
Yeah, I do, because it helps me learn, because public school at home in our state, it was not offered until about 5 years ago, maybe 6, and then it began to pop up, and it's an awesome resource for parents who need it. But I haven't used it, so I want to watch how somebody walks through it, so I learn how it works, and then I'm able to help parents who need it. So that's my thing. Y'all know how I love my mamas. Mamas have my
Yes.
heart. And I want them, because when mamas succeed, then the kids can succeed. And it all that
Yeah,
mama,
followed you.
the mama's pivotal.
We have followed you on Facebook since the first time we met, despite, kind of keeping an eye on the different things. And
So
it just took
you know how I feel about mamas.
we followed you since then, since we met 2 years ago. And like I said, finally, I guess COVID was the straw that broke the camel's back on
I
it.
think it is
And
with a lot. And I've had several people who started homeschooling, and they were just going to do it the first couple of months, but they're not changing back. They're going, this is awesome. It's meeting needs that we didn't realize we could meet. And I think it's a good thing. Obviously I love homeschooling, and it can really special needs. It can be I've seen so many people succeed with homeschooling and go far beyond what diagnosis said they could. So I think it's a good thing. Now, I'm not saying it's always the answer. I can be flexible, but I've seen success with many people.
we're going to do great. It's going to be good.
Yes, thank you so much for talking with us.
Yes, I know. I enjoyed being with y'all today.
Yes.
So we're going to sign off, and we're going to follow their progress this year, and we'll see how things go. And we'll go do some in person and see how what their homes look like, and how they have it set up, and just see what we can learn ourselves and what we can help with. I like to help. I can't always help, but I'm always a good shoulder to cry on. So but anyway, y'all have a good day, mamas, and I'm going to end this recording, and I will see y'all later.